I like the idea of pride as a sin, because I think when you are entitled for something that you didn't do, it actually make you to make worse things. Like you usually do acts and you feel like you can do it because of the previous generations who did good deeds. You kind of like have a bank of good stuff and bad stuff that you can do, and you are like calculating that with the things that the other generations did. So this is why I don't like the idea of people being prideful, let's say, of themselves, even from their nations or places that been before them. I don't take pride that I'm a Jew or that I'm an Israeli. I don't take pride in these things. I just enjoy that, what I have right now. I do take pride only in things that I do as a human being. I do agree with you, Armin, about
Wait, can you repeat what was the cost with that? Because I'm I'm trying to respond to this. What's the cost of
okay.
having the pride?
So every person psychologically have a bank in his mind of how good stuff I do and how can I cover it up with stuff that I did bad, right? For every bad deed that I do, I can excuse myself by the things that I did previously good, right? So if I take the things that my generations before me did, like good deeds that they did, I excuse myself to do bad deeds right now. Disagree? Okay. Another thing that I wanted to say is that I agree with you, Armin, about the conflict between the empires and the barbarians, and that it's better to be in an empire, even that sometimes the empires wrong us. It's still better than the barbarians, because the barbarians don't have any moral obligation. They usually destroy stuff and don't build anything. That's all. I don't have anything more to comment.
Was good.
I apologize, there's any background noise. I was just thinking, one of the things that somebody had mentioned the founding fathers about the fact that they came up with this incredible idea of basically equal justice under law, which kind of is what's above the U.S. Supreme Court. And the people, it wasn't good because George Washington, Jefferson both owned slaves. The political issues at the time of the American Revolution boiled down to one simple thing. Basically, they started with trying to make peace with Great Britain. They wanted to be part of Great Britain. But when they got to the point where they're going, this situation is untenable, and we get the Declaration of Independence. The issue with slavery was actually tabled because they figured it was more important. We'll get King George and the British Parliament out of our backyard first, because they were seen as the bigger threat, and then they would deal with slavery. We get into the situation where they talk about, well, slaves were only considered 2/3 of a person. There was a reason for it. The slave states actually wanted the slaves to have a full vote. The 2/3 person was to blunt the southern states because their population with the slaves was actually greater than what was in the northern. So the North saw this as a way to blunt that political power that the South could have wielded. Now, was it 100% perfect? As Khalid mentioned, it's a process. The fact that we literally went from basically, I think the ending of a lot of slavery in Europe started in the late 1600s, early 1700s. As with all things, as far as moral are concerned, sometimes it's a process. The people who started it may not have 100%, but they gave us the foundation for later generations to finish what they started.
Okay. So it's my turn. Well, I wanted to understand what you think about it a little bit, and I will give you my perspective, my unapologetic Middle Eastern perspective. This is all retarded. This is all stupid. I mean, we are not conditioned to live like this. We don't have this. I'm not gonna lie to you and give like, stupid talking points of like, yeah, we all love each other, blah blah blah. I have 2 black friends, Ethiopians, both from the army. Both very good friends. I don't have more. That's what I have. And we just don't play this game like this. It's like, you shouldn't be proud of your, no, shut up, go away. I mean, it's not, it's like, it's my number one, it's my thing, it's not yours. I'll be proud of whatever I want to be proud, as long as it doesn't hurt you. That's one thing. And the other thing is like, it doesn't have to be all the time around race. There's other things. Now you need to feel ashamed because what your great grandparents did or didn't do, or some of them, because not everybody had slaves, but not everybody. It gets to a point where it's not just that it doesn't serve you, it does the opposite. If there's a problem now in some sort of neighborhood and black crime is a problem, you can't discuss it. So what do? You don't discuss it. And then what happens? It explodes and it's a problem. And I think that you need to choose whether you're racist or not. If you are racist and you look at life from a perspective of race, so you're a racist. You got a problem and you need to work on it. And if you don't look at life through the lens of race, so you're not a racist and you're good. Yeah, I think I don't want to rant off too much, but that's pretty much it. Now we have Samantha.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry I kept giving you thumbs down. Just I felt obligated to do that.
It's okay. I give
The
you
thing
thumbs
is,
up.
it's like we still have people like in North America who like they lived under Jim Crow. Like, like Ruby Bridges is on Facebook. She's still alive today. So it's like, how can you say like they don't deserve reparations when it's like, I'm not talking about people who like, okay, their ancestors far back. No, I'm talking about people alive today who personally went through like extreme like legal country discrimination. Okay, like there's like this whole thing with like I think it was called like redlining, where like people of color couldn't buy houses in certain neighborhoods, and like they're suffering economic, like, because there's like such thing as inherited wealth, so like they're suffering like economic consequences of having been shut out of the housing market to this day because they couldn't make those housing investments and therefore like generate inherited wealth for their next generation. So people are still facing, like, there's people alive today who had to go through discrimination. Today, there are people who are still like dealing with the effects of discrimination. So that's why I think like, people like of color who went through this, they absolutely do deserve reparations for this. Like, don't Holocaust survivors still get some like reparation from Germany? Like my
Do, do,
ancestors,
do you want the answer? But the answer is a bit complex.
like either got out of Europe before the Holocaust or died in the Holocaust, and therefore I'm not descendant really of survivors. I'm descendant of people who died in Holocaust. But
Yeah, but you know that the second generation of the Holocaust cannot sue for nothing.
yeah, but we're not dealing. That's a separate thing. But like I said, there's still first generation people alive who went through Jim Crow in the South. Like there are first generation people who got through.
That's it? Okay. I have much to say, but I'm not going to crash into. We have a list. Now we have Warren McMahon. Where's Warren? Is he gone?
I think he left. He got
Okay. So we have Khalid. Khalid Azizi.
Oh, it's my turn?
Yes.
Okay. I was going to say, Armin, no, I understand what your point is. My point was a lot of like African Americans, because I was listening to them, why they always get angry and they always like use race as a thing. is because they say, go look at the founding of the country of America. Look at the history of us. We were never equal from the beginning. That's why the system like that. I'm not saying that the founders didn't build a system to make sure everyone will become equal. I'm saying that the problem is when a lot of them say this thing. Like this is saying, you said we were supposed to be equal from the beginning, but we know that's not the history. That's what they would say. I'm not saying that the founders didn't try to build a system to make sure everyone is equal. When historically I think that was the whole point.
So I'm just going to go back to reparations. I'll have a couple of examples. First of all, my dad was a child in the Great Depression, and he had a sister, and his mother, my grandmother, couldn't afford to feed both of them. So she gave my father to a family, basically as a servant. And that was just due to poverty. Where are my reparations? That was horrible, wasn't it? Another example, a quarter of my family were part of the Underground Railroad. So they were dairy farmers, and they were the last leg of the Underground Railroad. This is I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's basically what freed slaves. So basically, because they were dairy farmers, they had wagons, and you could hide people there, and they would take them over the border. And so essentially, my family, my ancestors, were the last people that they saw, and then they were free. And so they gave them their name. So they took their name. And the reason for that, there are a lot of Black people with the surname Griffin, is because of my family. Now, am I going to be going and hunting down all the Black people with the surname Griffin and going, "You're welcome. Can I have some money? We freed you. You're welcome." Of course not. They were doing the right thing, and they weren't looking for anything. And the fact is that reparations aren't money from the sky. Somebody has to pay for that. And you're asking people who didn't do anything wrong to pay. Bad things happen. Bad things happen, and they've always happened. And we're always working towards a better future where it's more equal and it's all better. And you move on. But acting like you're a victim for the rest of your life and acting like your state in life is because of something that happened to your father, grow up. It isn't. If you're a failure, it's because you're a failure and it's your fault and it's your problem. So pick yourself up, work your butt off, and make something out of yourself. And if you can't do that, then shut the hell up.
Okay.
Can I have like 2 seconds to say, but the people who would be paying are people who received inherited wealth from the people who did do something.
I will respond to that.
Me too. Don't worry.
That's impossible to trace. It's impossible. Everybody who has done this analysis has said, this is impossible. It would be taken to court. It would be in court forever. It would never work. It is better. It happened too long ago. It is impossible to figure out.
Yeah.
I stand by what I just said. Get over it.
Even if it was possible, I think they shouldn't do it. But I will talk to them.
Go on, Armin. It's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay, all right. So I have so many points, so I'm going to try to be quick. Okay, so first of all, Sabra, when he said pride, I like the idea of pride being sin. Pride is human nature. If you want to make pride a sin, then you're making human nature a sin. Anything that is kind of like communists that want to go against greed, even though greed is part of human nature. Also, pride is human nature, okay? And also, people are proud of things that they were not responsible for all the time. Pride is just a positive feeling that you have over something that you are connected with somehow, even if you're not responsible for it. For example, you could feel a lot of sense of pride because of something that your wife accomplished, even though you had nothing to do with it. When she would do it, you just feel pride. So I think that that's normal to feel pride over things that you didn't do, as long as there's a connection with you, right? So it happens all the time. And I also don't understand when you're saying that people have only a certain amount of capacity to feel positive about certain things, of things that they have done. I think most people who are proud of things that they didn't do understand that those things are not, they don't deserve credit for it. You don't talk, they're just proud of it just because they're somehow connected to it, not because they think that they deserve credit for it. Even if they feel some sense of pride for being connected to it, they still feel like they as an individual have to do something to feel like they did something meaningful, right? So for example, pride is important for collective shared identity of a society. A shared sense of pride keeps a community together, makes them feel a sense of bonding with each other. For example, being proud of being Israeli keeps Israelis together because they have a shared positive feeling with each other, and those are the glues that keep society together. All right, so let's go to like reparation. If the people are alive and something happened to them, that is not reparation. That's just suing for damages. If you're saying, oh, these people are still alive and they were hurt, okay, if they were hurt, that is not reparation. Somebody did something that was discriminating against you, you go sue them, okay? So reparation is about charging people that didn't do something to people who were not the victims directly, right? And also, when it comes to talking about inherited wealth, I think anybody who is poor, whether they're black or white, they're the product of their environment. Anybody who is unwealthy or poor, you could make that argument again about poor white Americans because these things happened to them in before. Well, okay, well, white poor Americans are also poor because of things that happened to them in the environment that they were in. So if you want to find any policies that helps people who are, poor or left behind, then you shouldn't be looking at their skin color. You should just try to lift all people who are being left behind, regardless of their skin color. And just let me one last point: the children of the people who did the Holocaust should not be paying for the children of the people who were the victims of the Holocaust. It had nothing to do with either one of them, even if they are benefiting or suffering from whatever their ancestors did. Because they're not responsible for it, they shouldn't be punished or rewarded for it.
All right. So after Armin, we have Joseph.
The issue of restitution is a weird one for me because historically, less than 2% of the United States population at the time had slaves. And I'm second generation to be born here in the United States. I have literally zero connection with slavery. So, and that's the same for most of us, even those of us whose one side of the family or another has been here since the Revolutionary War. And this whole issue of reparations, it's really to hide the fact of how badly some of these people have messed up their lives. I'm a recovered addict. So I know that I was an addict because I made a choice. I've been clean 30 years. I made a choice to be an addict. Once I accepted it, it was my choice that did that. Things got better for me. I was able to, where the point is, where, like I said, I'm now at 30, actually it's about 30 plus years of being clean. People who, in the Black community who are poor today, have advantages I don't have as a white business owner. If you are Black, or especially if you're Black and female, you have access to loans, grants, a whole host of financial advantages that I don't have. Yet, unfortunately, and a Small Business Administration numbers point this out, those who have been given those advantages have a higher rate of failure. I think part of it is because we have to plan, because I didn't have all these grants and such. I had to plan ahead. I had to plan out. And I think to say that we need to make reparations for something that happened quite literally 150 years ago, no, there are so many, that's almost 4 generations of people. Well, my time is up, so, but I'll just end it right there.
I think that if you talk about reparation, you can't really talk about it without mentioning the difference between systemic racism, which is come from the government, and and society which is racist, that is completely two different things. Jim Crowism, there was some laws that restricted, yes, but most of the backlash on black people in Jim Crowism was from the society itself. It wasn't from the government. So I'm not saying that all of the laws were equal. It's not what I'm saying. But okay, so hear me out. But so it's kind of like today I will sue reparation for Jewish students in Ivy Leagues for what they have been through, which is disgusting, and it will stop them in life because they paid all of this money for the. I can talk on and make bullshit like this, you see. So I don't think that like reparation are accurate in here at all. If you go with the North Korean system, yes, reparations are good right now, because in North Korea, if you fuck up, not only your kids will go after you to a concentration camps, also your grandchildren. It's 3 generations of punishment in North Korea. This is how these people think. I don't think that we should embrace it in the West. And that's it. So it's Armin now.
All right. So I was just going to go back to reparation, and I'm going to say, just think about what we are, this mindset, this so-called anti-racist mindset, how racist it is, not just to white people, but also to black people. Look what it's doing to them, right? If you tell people that white people are against you, everything from birth, the whole society has set everything to work against you. Racism is oozing out of the walls, is raining from the air, and then you're just swimming in it. And if white people tell you it ain't so, it's because it's just racism is so widespread that they don't even see it. They're just swimming in it. That's why they don't see it. And basically everything and everyone and everything is your enemy, right? And you will fail. Okay, because the system is against you, and your failures is not your fault. So basically, no responsibility for you. Everything that bad that happens to you, every time you fall behind. So when we are as children, right, when we are growing up, when we fall behind, our parents tell us that, oh my God, look at you, they're ahead of you. Look, your grades are lower. You didn't get that prize in that competition. Look at that kid that is performing better than you, and you're like, you feel competitive. You're like, oh my God, like you feel shame. You feel like you're not working hard enough. You feel like you're not ambitious enough. So you feel like you need to work harder. But then imagine if you had parents that were like, oh, you fell behind. It's because the system is against you. Everybody's against you. So it's not your fault. Well, it's not my fault. Then why should I even try hard? So what they're telling me is going to encourage me not to work hard at all, because what's the point? I'm going to fail anyway, because it's so hard to fight against the entire system. So, and I get away by making myself feel good, not ashamed, every time I fall behind by saying, well, it's not my fault. The whole system is against me. So this mindset is going to keep me behind. It's going to continue, like I'm going to continue to be behind, because you reduced my hope for success. And you also gave me excuses to feel that it's not my fault that I'm falling behind. So there is no fire under my ass to make sure I keep moving. I think this is a crime against black children to tell them that the whole system is racist and against you. And it's doing them a huge disservice. And it's amazing how, with the intention of, helping black people, we're actually spreading the worst messages among their children. And it's no wonder why black people were actually starting to doing good at some point in the history of the United States. They were lifting themselves up until this whole progressive, anti-racist, woke shit started to pick up. All of a sudden, we saw them fall behind again.